Hello, friends, and welcome to Take Two for this Wednesday, the 21st of April, 2021. I'm Jeannie. I'm so glad you've decided to come along for the ride today. Michael and I were out on our back porch this morning early, just as the sun was rising. It's kind of our little springtime ritual we love when we can go out there and watch the world become alive first thing in the morning. And as usual, we have a big black crow that has kind of taken residency in our backyard. And every single morning, he goes over to the little bird bath that we have set up in our herb garden. And he comes, swoops by, stops, looks around, has a little drink, and is back out on his merry way. He'll do that sometimes several times because he just knows it's going to be there. In other words, he just takes for granted that we will always have a bird bath full of water for him so he can stop by, have a sip, have a splash, whatever it is that he's going to do. And likewise, there's a number of things that we noticed going on in the garden that way with the birds and the squirrels. They just take for granted that these things are going to be there for them. There are certain birds that swoop back and they know we have berries growing on the back vines. They take for granted those berries will be there for them to eat, and so on and so on. So I started reflecting on my own life and the things that I take for granted. I take for granted that when I go, there's going to be air for me to breathe, oxygen, and an exact amount of air that I could have in my lungs. There's going to be the exact amount of oxygen and whatever else is in there so that I could breathe and breathe well. I take for granted that when I turn on my tap, water will come out. I take for granted so many things in the course of a day. Now, is that wrong? Well, no, of course not. We shouldn't stop and get philosophical and ponder how the water comes out of our tap when we turn it on to take a bath or wash dishes. Of course not. We know how that works. Plumbing. It's no big deal. There's nothing particularly poetic about it. It just is something that we know we have. We take for granted when we turn it on. And then when we turn it on and nothing comes out, oh my goodness, our worlds can be in shambles because we don't have what we need for the course of our day. But what about other things other than just the simple practical things like turning on the water or breathing the air? How about just the love of a loved one? Do you take for granted that your children love you, or that your parents love you, or that your husband or spouse loves you? Do you take that for granted every day? Well, sometimes some of us do. Now, I'm very fortunate to say that Michael and I never, even in 36 and a half years of marriage, have ever gotten tired of saying, I love you. We say it repeatedly on a daily basis because we never want to be taking for granted the love of each other, ever. But there are so many that they'll say it once or twice at the beginning of their relationship, and then you never hear it again. Parents, you need to reinforce your children, and children, you need to reinforce your parents. A lot of times we're kids, we're teenagers, we're college kids, and we take for granted that mom and dad are going to pay all of our expenses and all of that, to the point of even sometimes being unappreciative about the whole thing. So the same way we take for granted that the air is going to be there for us to breathe, the sun is going to be there to shine, that there'll be rain and there'll be provisions for us, and there'll always be food on the table, etc., etc. Taking those things for granted, I want you to stop and maybe give thanks for some of those things, okay? And maybe this is just this today. And maybe I'm speaking to somebody very, very specifically. If it's you, please let me know in the comments or private message me, because this is so heavy on my heart that maybe you haven't said, I love you in a long time to that person. Oh, they know you love them, but have you said it? Don't take for granted that they know and assume, oh yeah, he loves me, she loves me. Don't assume such a thing. Say it, because it's so very, very important. Don't take it for granted. Now listen, go out and be a blessing to somebody today, okay? You may end up being the only one who is. Don't take for granted that somebody that you're thinking about blessing is going and being blessed by a whole bunch of other people, because it may not be true. You may be the only one. Maybe it's just by saying I love you, huh? Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jeanne Sigler, Jeannesigler. Hit that subscribe button, that notification bell. Every time another Take Two premieres, you will be notified. Okay, everybody, have a terrific and wonderful hump day. I'll see you on Friday for my Unsung Hero of the Week. I love you very much. See you then. And I will never take any of that for granted. Love you. Bye.